Hello, Wastelanders. Here we go again. Okay, so I felt a little bad that the stream, Are we live? Hello? Hello, people of Post-Apocalyptia? Come on, show me that we're live, you... Okay. Okay, I believe we're live. Okay, so... Turns out, the real cause of the stream issue in the first place was my damn VPN, which was cycling between various, anonymous locations around North America. So that sucks, I shouldn't be surprised, though, that YouTube would be mad with the idea of people trying to protect their information so they fuck with the stream. But, whatever. So... I also, because of a unique situation at work today, I was already home, most of the day. So, I thought I'd have this a little bit early, which should be good for all of our North American listeners, because last time I think I started at 8, so it's most people had to go to bed, pretty early on in the stream. Europe, essentially, we're giving up on the old world right now, where... It's a good time, everyone on the West Coast is driving home, everyone on the East Coast has finished their dinner, they can relax and listen and whatever, and here we go. So we're gonna do this, because why the fuck not? And I'll be frank, I enjoy doing the solo streams. I feel like we get a lot accomplished, and by God, if we didn't, because we, after that stream, as I posted that little notification video that hopefully people enjoyed, I finally figured out how to work the Fallout Equestria wiki. So then I ended up spending the rest of my weekend, more or less, in between other stuff I had to do, editing the wiki and adding more pages and really filling out all this meaty information that's just gone neglected for all these years. So... I'm pretty pumped about that. I ran into a few roadblocks I just had to get past with figuring out how the wiki works and standards and formats and everything. But I think it's all coming together. So, hello everyone in the chat. Like I said, hopefully you can all enjoy this on your drives home or in your evening hours doing homework or whatever. I remember that was actually one thing I did a lot in college was at college my schedule was so messed up, where especially in the later years when it was just pure engineering, the my normal schedule would be get home at 6 or whatever, because a lot of the classes would have some kind of... There was always one night class or something. Well, not night per se. I had a few night classes too that went 9 to midnight, but almost every semester it felt like I had one set of classes that was 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock p.m. So then I don't get home until 6 or 7. And so then from there it's unwind a little bit and then have dinner. And then I'd end up listening to usually a podcast. Of course, that's when I started getting into Rooster Teeth podcasts and listen to one of those as I was doing homework or studying or whatever up until midnight. So yeah, it was a fun time, all sorts of fun time. The other thing I'm doing this time, which I hope improves everyone's audio because it's starting to drive me crazy too, I got a set of soundproofing egg crates that are folded. So there's a good 3 inches of foam that my microphone is sitting on, because I involuntarily just shift around in my chair a lot, and then when I resettle on the table leaning toward the microphone, my elbows keep coming up and down and just pounding the table, and I'm starting to get sick of it myself, and I haven't seen any explicit complaints from people, but it reminds me of those old Rooster Teeth podcasts where Gus specifically was always yelling at Joel about pounding the table, and that's just another thing we have in common, so that's always fun. So anyway, as I've indicated with the Celestias on screen, this is part 2, so if you guys have any questions or something you didn't get to asking on that Saturday stream or whatever, feel free to bring it on up. That would be great. Oh, in the chat, we have scene 1 of the Legend of the Winter's Pearl audio drama script in the Google Hangouts. I will, I will take a look at that. That's always also good, too, to email me things, like, especially bigger things like that, and just the skyboltmusic@gmail.com. And, no, I'm glad, ideas can inspire people. That's always great. It was a bit surreal as I was updating the Fallout Equestria wiki, because even one of the commenters on there said something like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you added word count," because we almost have like our own section at the bottom of the side stories page. I'll drop this in the chat actually. We have basically our own section at the bottom of the side stories page because there really aren't other audio dramas. We do basically all of them. One funny and kind of sad thing is then the behind the scenes. I still want to see that one episode done at some point. I record like 35 minutes of what was it? Cult classic dialogue for that, but I'm not sure what James is doing with that, so it'll probably come out eventually in some, recycled, just kind of like, here it is kind of form. I have a few things like that myself that I'm slowly getting out there, like canned projects or just stuff that like lay dormant for one reason or another that I'm just like finding excuses for how to post it. So that's pretty fun. But yeah, no, if you look at the bottom, then there's the because it's like standardized table. So, all these are mostly written things and like FimFiction or fanfiction.net or a Google Doc or something like that. So they all have like kind of proper word counts, but we've already been running metrics on our stuff just for, our own personal enjoyment. So I added all those word counts to us too. And it's amazing, like if you add all of our stuff together, because we are trying to be as, interconnected as we can be, it ends up in almost about 250,000 word range, which, it sounds like a lot, and it is kind of a lot in the concept of fiction and whatnot. But then if you keep on scrolling up the page, the box right after audio dramas then is canceled side stories, canceled, and right away, the one at the top is 329,000 words long. It's like, damn, you get that far and you cancel it? That would kill me inside. I could not leave that unfinished. Even if it were shit, I'd have to come up with some kind of resolution just to call it a resolution. That would really bother me inside. Then we have the one-shots, which are kind of fun, and those are... those are, in the 4,000 word range or 5,000 for that very top one. And then the next section up, we're getting into the real meat, in progress side stories. And right at the very top, Fallout Equestria Commonwealth by Crazy Person. 1.3 million words long. God damn, already double the length of Fallout Equestria. And it's not finished. All of these are incomplete. And then you got Falling Shadows, Treasure Hunter, An Empty Quiver, Old Souls, Last Sentinel, Survivor's Guilt, Memories, Homelands, Wild Arms, X, Trigger to Tomorrow, Second Wind, New Rome, Hooves of Fate, Allegiances. And those are all longer than us, if you count all of our productions together, which I think it's fair. It's all kind of connected. And there's little, hints of lore back and forth. Derpy references the sort of confessions in one episode, and we've mentioned EAST Corp, so... Yeah, it's really surreal just looking at all the metrics on these things that we really... I don't think we even fall into the top 20 if you add up everything combined. Of course, finished. Now that's another story. So now we have the top two sections where Project Horizons is not up to date because I'm like 90% sure that it's not only 912,000 words long. I'm pretty sure it's in the millions somewhere. So that needs to be updated. But the Project Horizons is completed, as is Heroes and Pink Eye. But we've already surpassed Pink Eye, so whatever. But yeah, and then the other completed side stories below that, in the super duper big range, Murky Number 7, Starlight, Old Souls, Merchants of Hope, Viva Las Pegasus, Brotherhood, The Long Winter, Icicle, Guise of Chaos, Broken Steel, Occupational Hazards, and yeah, those are ones that are completed. A lot of them were older though. Like you look at some of the dates on these and it's like completed 2014, 2013, 2015. So these are right at the zeitgeist right after the original finish, which, I guess if I had like really just wrote confessions nonstop, if I could, and just wrote and didn't record or anything, I could have possibly done something like that. But, anyway, the whole point for all of this is that we still, on every other video, we get a complaint about like, oh, it's so long. It's like, it's only long because it's produced in an audio format. When you look at the word metrics compared to everything else, Fallout Equestria, we're actually like, we're probably in the middle range, like the 50-60% range, And especially our stuff is so nicely partitioned in all these little digestible episodes, and even within the longest ones, there's very, very well partitioned sections. I assume most of the people that are fans like download it because there's free downloads and everything, and you'll see there's very specific like. Of the Ice Bear, there's the opening section of the Ghoul Doctor, and then there's the first chapter of basically before the war up until the ship crash, and then you've got the horror of her like in the crash, and then on the hospital table, and her little like I think I'm dead, I'm laying with eternity and the flow of magic whatnot stuff. Everything's very well dramatic. Is that we're not that long, really. If you look at all the numbers on all these other stories, it's very digestible and accessible, I think. I mean, especially with the sections, it's like, okay, I'll listen to section 2 today, 45 minutes. That's nothing. I don't know. Maybe this is obviously I'm biased, but like I guess I'm just used to, I always commute. I've always had a long commute. So it's like, my worst commute actually wasn't probably Virginia, because every day I had to cross 3 bridges and 1 tunnel in both directions. So, because it was like a forking of the rivers, converging in the port of Virginia. And, it was, it's 45 minutes both ways, because I lived in Virginia Beach, and, my job was on the other side of the Elizabeth River. And so it was just, I was used to that, 45 minutes driving there and 45 minutes driving back every day. So, you run out of podcasts, you run out of music, and I really got into audiobooks. And then with this kind of stuff, then once I got like, I have a lot of fond memories of like finishing the Ghoul Doctor, the entire demo, the 1-hour demo I'd end up sending to Ian Anderson, and listening to it, and testing the first half on the way to work, and stopping around the section when he slurps on the Radaway, and then listening to the second half on the way home. And that was just 1 day out of a 4-day work week. So I don't know, I guess I'm just biased. I'm used to that. But yeah, Virginia traffic does suck. It's yeah, the damn Easy Pass. Yeah, you could pay your stipend to get across all those bridges and tolls and stuff, but that's expensive. I know taxes were okay, but that was pretty expensive. And it's like, I guess I kind of get it. It's like the only people paying for it are the ones that use it, but I pay for a lot of shit that I don't use in the government, and if everyone had to play by those rules, that'd be great. But no, most of the people benefiting from those tolls were the big corporations with the trucks and stuff. So, oh yeah, Northern Virginia, that's something else entirely. Nova and the Beltway. Ugh. Yeah, when I went to, I drove to BronyCon that one year in 2014, and, I mean, it was kind of a nice drive, going up 95 through Fredericksburg and Prince William County and Alexandria and stuff, but it's like as soon as you pass Quantico, then you're within like the DC, you know, the Beltway sphere of influence as soon as you approach Arlington, and it's like that's where everything just gets crazy. And yeah, I remember sitting on the bridge looking at that opening shot from House of Cards for like probably an hour, just getting across the bridge and seeing the Nationals Park and the Washington Monument and stuff. And then getting into Maryland was different. I know people complain about Maryland traffic too, but it was already nighttime when I was there, so it was like I think 9:30 when I got through DC and into the state properly, and so drove into Maryland, into the lovely city of Baltimore. But I'm just glad to be out of there. But it's funny seeing the people react to my weekend wiki spree of quote unquote little edits. I'm not sure what that means. The one guy who made what he called little edits on a few articles, and I can't exactly tell if he changed anything. Maybe it's like a grammar thing he liked differently. I don't know. So that's a big question mark there. And then Sancho added a art by tag to one of the character profiles. Of course, I would I'll highlight all the art for the characters, but mainly it was just trying to get the pages all like framed right and kind of learn how the how like the HTML and stuff works. I haven't done something like this since like the MySpace days when you had to go in and edit the individual HTML tags or go on the website and copy like your special MySpace background and then copy it into one of those like about sections, or you have to copy this into the about section and this into your personal details section in order to make them load together. Oh God. Generation Z, they won't know this. That was another time, MySpace. I think one of the best commentaries on that was an Onion video article where it's like guy with it was something like guy with 32 Chrome tabs open crashes entire internet when he opens his MySpace page and the song starts automatically playing. Yeah, I remember at one point I stripped down my MySpace page like bare bones because then I had like a whole playlist of a bunch of random songs and stuff, and it was flippant. The user had too much control in some ways, because then you could just fill it with garbage and it would just break. And also automatically playing music is like one of the most annoying things a website can do, especially these days. You even see websites with automatic videos. They always make sure they're muted because they know how much people hate the automatically loaded videos in the first place. We have no tolls in Texas and no good highways. I don't know. 40 was okay. It's in a very, specific part of Texas, but I drove I-40. I've heard driving I-10 is a special experience, going from El Paso all the way through like the widest length of Texas. And, you have a few things on the way in like once you hit like Austin or was it San Antonio? But between Austin and El Paso is nothing. It's like 500 miles of, you starve to death and then Marfa, and that's about it. Oh, man. Be glad you missed the morning rush hour. Yeah, no, I couldn't do Beltway. I remember when we visited DC for my 8th grade trip, because that's what everyone in America does for their 8th grade trip. They go to Washington DC and see all the stuff that they might have an appreciation for. They might be old enough to have an appreciation for, but most likely not really. That's really something they should do in like sophomore or junior year. Like I took my U.S. government class was, I want to say junior year. That's when they should have. That's when in America that should be the standard DC trip time, not 8th grade. Kids don't appreciate it in 8th grade. I mean, even me, like my dad's kind of a history, like he got like a minor, and always reading different history books and biographies on people, and even with that upbringing, you don't get anything out of it. Like, ever since then, what was it? God, like 15 years later now. Oh my God, I'm so old. It's at 12, 15 years later, it's like everything I would have done differently there. I would have spent more time in this Smithsonian Museum versus this one. I would have taken more pictures of this versus that. I would have, and then I've never been able to go up the damn Washington Monument either. The shit's been broken for like the last 2 decades. Come on. How hard is it just to like fix the damn elevator and then like have people buy tickets? Like, okay, I bought tickets for the 3 to 3:15 ride. You go up, you take your pictures from the top, you touch the aluminum pyramid because that was really special back then, and then you ride back down. That's fine. Traffic backed up past Fredericksburg. Oh, that's fucked. Who's driving into DC from as far out as Fredericksburg? No, thank you. If I worked in DC, I would not live any further out than well, I guess that would be Prince William County, the one with Arlington and like all that shit. That's far enough. That's difficult enough to find your place on the DC Metro and get in there. I remember, of course, again, I was 8th grade, so it seemed efficient enough, the DC Metro system, but I still, in the general sense, have a bad impression of it because of damn Fallout 3. I'm just playing through Fallout 3 again, and I'm so sick of having to use the fucking metros to get around DC, because it's all like this like backwards maze of just trying to find like, where do I surface? What, even when it shows you the trail, you're like, this makes no sense. Like, no sense at all. But, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, so no, it was kind of fun. My other point of bringing up the Fallout Equestria wiki is, now that we have pages, now that I know how to add pages and stuff, I'm adding a lot more details that should be fun for people to enjoy. So, for instance, one of the articles with like a ton of new data is, let's see here, I tried to make sure I had the hyperlinks to everything linked up pretty well, but it's still in progress. I'm not going to be done with this for a while, probably slowly editing everything. But here we go, Ivory Labs. The Ivory Labs page is very, very comprehensive now. I've got whole lot of more backstory to the Sora, the reagent, and the biotype accelerant, and how exactly they actually do work. Kind of playing off of that line from that Pinkin gives about like, oh, do you even know if it's in a retrovirus or an I almost said Arduino. It's not an Arduino virus. Audino, I think. The one that's not the chip, but the one that's the virus. Anyway, and I tried to expound on my, my rudimentary sci-fi level knowledge of microbiology to explain how this works. It's magical viruses. That's the best kind of viruses. Classic MySpace. Hello, every banana. Yes, I'm the most corporate of bananas. Oh yeah, see, that's kind of what the Celestia thing actually is a good reference to, because ever since that old Rooster Teeth joke of Gus, where he said his title was corporate banana in the company forever, way back in the Stable-Tech days, I made that a joke where I was like, okay, I'm the corporate banana at Stable-Tech, and that's sort of carried over. I think that's still in my Skype name or something, and so there you go. I'm the corporate banana, and you got your 2 Celestias. And it's Tuesday, and that's actually half the reason I decided to hold this live stream, is just for that pun. So there you go. Fallout 3 is special after you've lived in the area. Yeah, no, I can imagine. YouTube came out when I was 15, and now I'm 28. Yeah, no, I'm almost 27 now. God. And yeah, YouTube came out. Well, when I place everything within, I think of it like what year of my life. So, like, I remember freshman year when my friends first started talking about Ask a Ninja and Homestar Runner and well, Red vs. Blue was even earlier than that. Me and my my other big time Halo friend and we were watching that in middle school. But yeah, so that early like 2007, like freshman sophomore year for me, that's when I started, hearing about YouTube. And like I didn't go on there a lot. It looked a lot different too back then, but I really didn't go on computer at all too much at that point. It was, even then, mid 2000s internet is like night and day from what it is today. Like the advent of, of the smartphone really accelerated like standardization of internet, like, bandwidth speeds and web design and simplicity, and just everything's a lot more cleaned up because of it. So I do remember when I started college in 2009, I had a plan for a very basic sort of YouTube channel that I don't know what I wanted to do. I was just like cobbling together some different ideas based on videos I did watch. So it's like song lyric videos. That was one idea I had. Doing very basic graphics work with like Windows Movie Maker, that kind of stuff. Really early experimentation. And and then I had one channel where I would cut up I forget what I called it. It was something stupid like just the good parts or whatever. And so I had I had a DVD rip software on my computer at the time. So like any DVDs I had, I was able to back up and like pull the files off of the discs. And so then what I was doing was I was cutting up episodes of like The Simpsons or That 70s Show and like essentially cutting out just one plot line from it and putting that as a video. So for instance, like there was a That 70s Show episode where Eric works at a burger joint and he's doing that to pay for dates with him and Donna. And so I took out just the scenes of him actually in the burger joint. And I don't know why I did this. It's just like, I don't know. I guess I wasn't a kid. This is like late high school, but it's just something, something stupid. I was just trying just to like feel out like, YouTube as a space, as a creative space. I'd only then just started playing around with like song parodies and stuff, because really it was only then that I was like really getting into like singing in general. I really didn't get into like creative arts in school until the end of high school, until my senior year when I joined our choir and drama program and ended up doing a play and Seussical and musical and some other singing type things. So it was very it seems so surreal now that it feels like I was, a little baby back then compared to now. Just the time, the experience, it feels like another life. I gotta pull out some of those old pictures again. Filming in hometown of Bakersfield. Oh yeah, I've been through Bakersfield a lot. Make a game based in Bakersfield. Yeah, actually, Bakersfield potentially wouldn't be bad. Wait, no, I'm sorry. I was thinking of something else. Bakersfield is interesting. It's back at 10 years old, watching MLP since 13, and one of the founders of the Grimdark community. Lol. Pony, like Grimdark fan fiction, that was its own thing, wasn't it? Because of course it all started with frickin' Sergeant Sprinkles writing cupcakes, which was just, it's just gratuitous. But it's like, I don't know, it's hard. Well, then again, I'm very tolerant of the Grimdark, but it just seemed kind of silly. It was just someone writing like, okay, these are soft ponies. Let's make one of them an axe murderer, and she cuts off their cutie marks and tails and shit, or wings and shit, and makes a suit out of them. It was just like a whole bunch of horror tropes squeezed into this little like 30-minute story. But of course, everyone got a good shock horror out of it, so that was great. I missed three things from the era: Windows 95, burning illegal CDs, and Army Men 2 Plastic Warfare. Yeah, I remember I had for N64 Sarge's Heroes by 3DO. Oh, I love that shit. That was a great game, Sarge's Heroes. I love the one that was the living room map, where it was like two opposite couches, and then there was I think it was a kitchen table, but it looked almost more like a cardboard box in the middle, and there was like an arm, like a castle set on there, and it was and so you had to like each base was each of the opposite couches, and the middle table was like your main battleground, or you could get to like a vantage point either from the edges of the couch or from the castles on the computer that I learned to type on in middle school, actually. Hello? Testing. 1, 2, 3. Ah, okay. Okay, so it isn't my VPN. It wasn't NordVPN screwing up the stream. We were getting WASD. Fuck you, Tube. Son of a bitch. Okay, well, at least I'm vindicated. It wasn't my fault that we keep getting these 30-minute jerk arounds. Ah, what a bunch of garbage. Okay, what were we talking about? Old days. Yeah, no, so our family didn't have Windows 98 until, like, after Windows 2000 was already, like, semi-infamous. Like, I think we got Windows 98 literally, like, a few months before XP released, so that was, that was our home computer, and then actually, I think I had the first, XP in the house in, like 2005, like, when I was starting high school, so that was something. I mean, it's funny, like, both my parents kind of were around computers back in the day, like punch card machines and COBOL, but it's like, between that, like, mid-80s to 90s gap, they weren't, like, that's where they fell behind. But they're still kind of a league ahead of some other people in my family, so that's good. They're great. Well, shit. Welcome back. Yeah. Vindication. It was not NordVPN's fault. Still remember being in high school using a Tandy 2000. I haven't even heard of that. I remember, our early, learn how to use the computer classes was absolutely, Oregon Trail. That was in second grade. I remember I went to a kind of, a school with a lot, like a brand new computer lab, this radical new thing, and all the machines had Oregon Trail, and our class would do like computer time for like half an hour, I think twice a week. It was something like, I want to say it was like Wednesdays and Fridays or something like that. And yeah, it was literally just Oregon Trail, learning how to use the GUI, I guess, of that was probably Windows 95 that I used then. Even though our house, we didn't get 95, we went straight to 98. But what I played Oregon Trail on at school, that was probably a Windows 95. Oof. Oh, a DOS base. Yeah, no, I was just saying about how I learned to type on one of those. It was funny too in the computer lab there in middle school. Then they made sure they made sure we learned not to look at the keyboard. So they had these goofy like orange like condoms that you put over the keyboard so you can't see like what letters or numbers are on the keys. It's like this, like, you got to browse safely. You got to put your keyboard condom on so you don't accidentally type the P word into a search engine. No, but I after that 1 year, I never had a computer class that was that absolutist about it. So, you kind of get used to just, like, glancing down as a kid and stuff. I had a few, like, the Mavis Bacon teaches typing type things, too. And it was kind of rudimentary. I really didn't feel like I got into, like, fully proper typing, not looking at the keyboard and stuff until probably high school. It's just, it was kind of the times, too, because we didn't have enough requirements to really use computers yet. Everything was very, like, a lot of papers were still handwritten. Hell, I used a typewriter for some stuff, like an electronic like plugin, but it was a typewriter. And yeah, shit, man. I still remember bringing like floppy disks in with school projects, and the transition from floppy disks to thumb drives to USB, Series A drives or whatever. God. This probably sounds surreal to all the kids. We probably sound like old people. Like, oh, were you around for Generation 1, Pony? No, I wasn't. It's just, it's what being a 90s child is all about, man. Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, that's right, $2,000. Yeah, no, we, our family's, I don't even remember the brand or whatever the hell it was, but our family's monochromatic computer, we got it used from like some other family, and it was still like $500 because it was like, I don't know, it's because it was like 10 megabytes of memory. Is it memory or RAM? I feel like it was 10 megabits of RAM, and then we had like a lot of memory that was like 20 or something, like really revolutionary. And that was the only problem with green screens. They could overheat and explode. Yeah, and then ours wasn't even green. It was like bright orange. Not even like New Vegas orange. It was like a much brighter, more vibrant orange. Like really bright orange. Yeah, it was we're kind of talking about nostalgic things. We have someone asking in the chat what they missed. I guess we're talking about like SkyBolt in high school and other people in the early 2000s. The good old CRT screens. Yeah, no, I know. We didn't have a flat like LCD screen for computer. It was always obviously me leading the way with technology in those senses. So our first like LCD screen was when I got a laptop computer when I started high school. That would have been my first LCD. And then as far as TVs go, the first LCD screen was a 35-inch we got. I want to say it was like our sophomore year of high school. You know, everything was still built for the giant CRT cabinets. You've got these big cutaways for computers and stuff. And it's really surreal now because I moved into this house that was built after 2000. It's like 03 or something. And it didn't have like a TV cutaway in the wall, but it has this giant space for a mirror above the fireplace. And it's not really a full fireplace. It's like a little natural gas burner fireplace. But there's a space above that where it's like a mantle, and, you know, it's for like a mirror or like maybe a big family portrait or whatever. But, you know, in the modern age, that's where I mounted my TV. So I've got a nice, you know, gyroscopic 55-inch TV hanging off the wall there. So that was really fun. That's the great thing about the what is that law called for technology, like doubling in power but getting halfway in size every 2 years? I think it's called Morrison's law, something like that. And yeah, I'm not complaining about that. You know, technology can reach like, really, I think cell phones already reached that point, and now we're going into like ergonomic sizing. Now it's like, you know, probably around the time of like the iPhone 4, or was it the 4? Whenever the iPhone finally went to, you know, proper ratios, guys. We're not 3:2. Let's get into 16:9. What every single widescreen, you know, when widescreen became standard, iPhone finally got the widescreen standard. And you know, at that point, like, phones could get as little small as you wanted them. And after that, the screen started getting bigger because, well, you know, video services got bigger, and everyone had whatever different videos they wanted to watch on the internet on their phones. And I mean, my first smartphone, that was a big driver for me. I got a Droid X. It was only the third Droid. It was the original Droid from like '09, the one that really launched Android as a platform. And then there was the Droid 2 and the Droid X that came out about the same time. And I got the Droid X because even though it didn't have a slide-out keyboard, which was really revolutionary, you know, a lot of the Android people didn't like that it didn't have a keyboard, but I didn't care because I wanted that giant 4.3-inch screen. I'm like, I was already, you know, getting into YouTube. This is like 2011, and I'm like, I want that big-ass screen. That's great. You know, I don't want the Droid 2 screen that's like 3 inches just so I could have a pop-out keyboard. We're probably killing all the younger listeners now, you know. Oh my god, shut up, Grandpa. You fucking 30-year-old boomer. Back in my day. Yeah, old VHS tapes. Yeah, all the, you know, as soon as some shit would come out of the Disney vault and you bought, not only like, it wasn't just the VHS like slide out cases, it was the giant white like carton cases, especially for like kids animated movies. It was always those ginormous things. Like, I don't know, did they think we would hurt ourselves if we had like a normal VHS case slide out? And so they got us the big cartridge, like, you know, plastic deals. Because if the idea was protecting kids, then it was kind of redundant. Like, maybe it offered more protection to the cassette itself, you know, the actual VHS. But because all the sides of them had these fins, right? Because it was like much bigger than a standard just VHS cardboard like slide case. And the giant white fins, they might have protected like, you know, drop resistance for protecting the cassette. But if it was about protecting kids, those damn fins were sharp as hell. I remember I got paper cuts and cut like my arm and stuff on the edges of those, because it's just like the side of like standard plastic packaging after you've cut it open, where it's almost like a razor on the side. Oh man. That was something else. Yeah, see, I've got like perfect 90s child credentials because I was born in 1990. I saw all of the 90s. Well, kind of, you know. I remember the second half, you know, well enough. I suppose a proper 90s child would be someone that was born in like 85-ish, where, you know, they were first coming into consciousness when 1990 hit and 1991, but it's one of those things that's like, that's not really part of the experience. You're still kind of an 80s child because, you know, all these things have like transitionary periods. So you've got like the 80s really lasted a few years into the 90s. You had stuff like Saved by the Bell, which seems quintessentially 80s, but it wasn't until the 90s that aired. And a lot of things like that. You know, a lot of the tail end of like 80s, like Schwarzenegger and Stallone films came out actually in the early 90s, like Terminator 2 and Demolition Man, I think Judge Dredd, Total Recall. Those kind of things that you think of as like an 80s movie, but they were early 90s. And really a lot of that you know, the 90s stereotype, that lasted quite a bit into the early 2000s, where you had like all the ridiculous over the top, like, you know, totally radical toys and packaging, and like, you know, the early Pokemon zeitgeist. I rode that wave completely. As soon as the first Pokemon shit came out, all the way through like all the way through the second gen, all the Neo stuff, Gold and Silver. That was like initial Pokemon. And then it really feels like Generation 3, this is Ruby Sapphire, that was, you know, Generation 2, so to speak. That's what it kind of feels like for me. Yeah, no, you guys don't have to give your exact birth dates or anything. You don't have to like dox each other. Like, I mean, all the info I've gave is technically wrong, but it's like close enough. So, you know, it's all about just, you know, the general idea. Born in the late 90s. Oh yeah, no, I mean, here's my benefit was I had an older brother and sister that were total 80s children. And so, you know, I mentioned this before. My sister grew up on all the stereotype, you know, My Little Pony, Gen 1, and Strawberry Shortcake, and Care Bears, and all that. And my brother grew up on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the G.I. Joe and all that. So I really did get like a really heavy secondhand 80s experience from the two of them. So that was kind of lucky on my part. I kind of got the best of both worlds. The 80s consisted of everyone being on drugs. I mean, to be perfectly honest, every generation is about, you know, people being on drugs. It's just different drugs in different forms. You know, go back to the Civil War. We'll go back 150 years, and the drug of choice was morphine. And morphine was big for years after its use as a painkiller really became significant. When you had the early days of, like, modern surgical practice, modern medicine. You know, when you're entering the germ theory days, and you know, we're getting away from humorism and miasmas and stuff like that. And then once morphine was falling out of favor, that was around the time that then opium was becoming big, which, you know, it's just different colors of the same kind of thing. And opium lasted a while. And then, of course, the background to all this is alcohol. You had hard liquors and you know, controversy about liquor. And so then America bans it for a while. And, of course, everyone drinks way more because of that. And so then liquor comes back into fashion. And also in the background of all this, you had a lot of drugs that were also legal, like cocaine. Cocaine was the soft morphine or opium. And so, you know, people had their Coca-Cola. You know, it was literally, Coca-Cola was invented to help John Pemberton get off of his morphine addiction, which unfortunately he didn't. He ended up overdosing, which is really sad, but it was the irony. And it's like, okay, and so then once cocaine started getting phased out of like normal commercial products and stuff, and then eventually, you know, alcohol was brought back, so they were then able to crack down on cocaine and marijuana. You know, you had the pre-Reefer Madness kind of era. And then, of course, the 60s brought it all back. So, I mean, you know, there's really only been a few, like, quote-unquote dry periods, if you think of, like, modern history. But everything else has had drugs. It's just in one form or another. And, yeah, people then go trend to trend. Of course, then sometimes it's more dangerous than another. Like, you know, crack cocaine versus you know, Walter White pure form meth or some stuff like that. But it's tricky. You know, it's ideal if you just don't do drugs at all, but a lot of people end up on drugs. So yeah, don't do drugs. That's our PSA. Yeah, in keeping with the 90s nostalgia of the show, let's throw up that I'm sure everyone remembers this arcade cabinets in like the Chuck E. Cheese's and stuff in the early 90s. They all opened with that same like weird looking like flower thing, and it was like, you know, like a drug-free America or something like that. It was very I don't know if they had stuff like that in Europe. I would be curious, but all the Euros, they should be asleep right now. So we're just talking to our Americans and our Leafs in the audience. So, you know. Yeah, that's right. Winners don't do drugs. Absolutely, they don't. Unless you count 80s businessmen, then they're all on cocaine. Or speed. Oh, man. Okay, so that was kind of fun. A 90s nostalgia hour. Weed is the new morphine. I would love to see giant billboards with that. Well, it's like now, apparently, because of, you know, at least in America, there's been a recent resurgence of wanting to fight opium addiction, which is good. And really what the ultimate problem with it is there's no real alternatives. There's very few, like, what's the right word? Effective painkillers that are outside of the NSAID opioid family. And it's like, really, that should be the key. You know, pour a shitload of funding into non-addictive painkiller research. And it seems like that's finally what they're trying to do now in America, which would be good. Because here's the other drawback on this. It's like, if you crack down on too many, like, real pharmaceuticals, like actual medical treatment type stuff, then everyone's just suffering in pain. And you're going to create a lot of different problems in society, and you're going to force more people to look for illicit drugs because hospitals won't give them anything that's proper and controlled. And so it's really one of those back and forths of like, you can't just like, you can't do that to people. You got to fix the actual problem, the source first, you know. Fix the pain first, then take care of the painkiller problem. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's always one of those things with government. They always want to fight the thing that they, you know, think is the problem rather than the root cause of the problem. Everything is treating symptoms and never treating the cause. Only you can prevent forest fires. That's right, chat. You gotta get your bear telling you not to throw your cigarettes into the woods and start forest fires. I mean, you know, it's kind of true, but, you know, most forest fires are mostly from poor forest management. It's not necessarily people throwing cigarettes in the woods anymore, but it still happens. I'm taking offense. I'm Euro. Oh, yeah, the UK. I mean, yeah. Also, we have to start working on our... It's funny because wild milkweed is perfectly legal. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. I've heard of milkweed. I think I've seen pictures of it where it does look like weird, like it has the white fuzzy like film on the outside of the leaves. I don't know. That definitely does look like it's some kind of drug. Yeah, the trippy 90s and early aughts cereal commercials. I think one of the best parodies of that was what the Rocket Jump guys did. The Freddie W, where they had that quintessential 90s commercial, and they did a parody of the Capri Sun thing, and then all the kids, and it's really funny. You just Google like Rocket Jump 90s commercial, and you should find it. And then they've got the stereotypical like football player, star just squeezed in there. To tell kids to go outside, 60 minutes of exercise. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's great. And that was a time too where like telling kids just go out and get exercise, that worked because there were a ton of sports and fields and things you could do outside. But now everything is so padded and safe and controlled that like no one really has those outdoor outlets anymore. Like, for instance, in middle school, I remember dodgeball and Foursquare. People throwing them rubber balls at each other and jumping in the square and all that. That was pavement. If you fell down, you got face first on some pavement, and I can't have that anymore. One too many scraped knees. Can't let the kids play. You have to be careful because milk thistle is also a cactus. Yeah, don't do that. Don't pick up a cactus. I know, I forget what the thing is called, but there's some kind of Southeast Asian plant, like Indonesia, like that kind of area that's apparently has some kind of like microscopic needles on it that can get like dug into your skin and cause like constant pain and irritation for like weeks at a time. That's like a nightmare weed. Like that sounds like something that only Australia can come up with naturally. Ugh, just awful. Another plant like that I've heard of is well, not like that, but it's from one of those like list videos where there's all these horrific plants and things, and one of them was something called what was it called? I think it was called like something apple. It is like a quote unquote apple tree in like the Gulf of Mexico region, like the U.S. Gulf, like Florida and some southern states, and then east coast of Mexico and Caribbean islands and stuff, and it's like every part of the tree is caustic. Like if water rains on the tree, then the sap of the tree will drip down onto you and it'll like burn your skin. And like if you actually try to eat the apples, it can like kill you and stuff like that. It's like everything about the tree is like one living like toxic agent. It's crazy, like the kind of defense mechanism some of these plants can evolve, where it's like damn, it's just like one giant like chemical weapons plant. And maybe maybe that Happening movie by Shyamalan would have been better if it were a little bit more subtle, a little bit better written. It is an interesting idea of like all these plants and stuff, they've evolved with these horrible chemicals and stuff. It'd be crazy to see what would happen if they like really started actively like evolving against all like people or plant or animal life or whatever. It's a tricky thing to set up because it's like somewhat naturalistic, but it's also like basically a sci-fi premise. And so then you get things like Zoo in the same kind of way, where it was a book about like the animals get kind of smart and they're all like extremely hostile toward people. what was the guy's name? Like James Patterson, I think. And in the book, because I ended up listening to the book, in the book, the problem was cell signals. Like, something about the cell phone signals was screwing with their brains and making them super hostile. So they had, like, a national, like, blackout area in, like, New York. And all the animals up there just sort of calmed down and went back to, like, their normal selves. And, but they couldn't get, like, away from having signals, or, like, they're communicating with other, like, you know, other countries and stuff, and so they couldn't really turn the signals off. So then it was about, like, just fortifying these islands against the vicious, non-stop bloodthirst of the animals. Oh yeah, someone in the chat, that would be cashew apple. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, you think about deadly animals, but some of these plants are horrific. Like the kind of poison or even venom they could have if you, like, touch them or ingest them or whatever. It's radical. Yeah, so so I don't know. I just I wanted to throw up the stream, just kind of a continuation, I guess, of the one from Saturday. It's sort of like you know, to be continued, where it's like, okay, so we had that opening where we mentioned the filmfiction.net, and so here we go. Now we're building our Wikia articles. Or sorry, follow Equestria Wikia.com. So now we're building our Wikia articles, and yeah, I've been having a lot of fun just kind of organizing all of this. The EAST Corp page too, which is for the corporation, not for the studio, is also, I put a lot of detail into just, like, summarizing everything, and the kinds of Sentinel droids and weapon systems and operating system. It's all pretty neat. I think it's a good time. I think people really appreciate some of the backstory in the pages, because now, of course, you know, now that we finally figured out how to do it, now the reason for this is we'll have all the lore very easy to read back on and reference for everyone going into the last couple episodes here. And I've told James to do the same thing with Terminal Secrets. I'm kind of going to go back and at least, like, add some articles and stuff for my episodes of Terminal Secrets, but then, you know, if he wants to do anything for, like, the episode 2 stuff or the Tin Mint stuff, he's going to kind of have to lead the show on that one. Oh yeah, we're talking about Australia. Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, there's a lot of good Australian actors out there. I mean, really, ultimately, I'm just waiting for the next Mad Max movie. That's what I want. Because Fury Road was such a treasure out of nowhere. You know, we were 20 years and controversies away from the Mel Gibson Mad Max trilogy. So it was like, you know, I don't know what people were expecting from the new one, but then as soon as that first trailer hit and you heard the Junkie XL, you know, Tom Holdenkamp, I think that was his name, music, you know, in the trailer and stuff. Oh man, it was so cool. I loved Fury Road, which that's the one thing I mentioned in the Amber Horn page at the bottom about how the story was heavily inspired by the writing of Mad Max Fury Road in summer of 2015, and a kind of a reference to that original VA of hers that I did cast at one point was an Australian brony actress, so voice actress, you know, a fandom VA, not like an actress, you know. We're nowhere near that point of professional, but yeah, and that's actually another favorite thing I have with these wikis is then every page I can have a section at the bottom where we got quotes, really good, you know, meaty quotes from the actual things, and then also behind the scenes where we can put all these little blurbs and things that we, you know, sprinkle throughout the podcast just for fun, but then this kind of organizes them all into one place, and people can, you know, check back and enjoy them. So yeah, we're, at least I am putting, you know, a decent amount of work into them whenever I have free time to add to the pages. So I hope people enjoy them. Anyway, so I really didn't have a lot planned for this, and then again, I didn't plan for the last one to be 4 hours either. So I could probably check off soon, unless there's anything you guys specifically wanted me to talk about, or anything you wanted to ask about, or what's in the news. I don't even know. It's been an interesting week. It's like I was sick on Monday, which kind of sucked, but I had a few extra hours then to do Wicked. Come on. Is it up? I don't know. I think it's up. Something like that. Damn stream. It's not the VPN. It's all shut down. So I don't know. It's just YouTube screwing with us. It didn't happen last time either. So maybe it has to do with like YouTube traffic. Like we must have gotten lucky on that other stream I did on when was that again? That was like Saturday night, right? Or I don't know. You'd think Saturday night a lot of people would be streaming, but maybe not. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just a system thing where they do this when they have like high volume traffic or something. But yeah. Anyway. So, yeah. So I'm kind of excited for some of these blurbs. Like some of these too that I'm not sure if I've even brought up on the podcast, because it was one of those things where it's like, because with all these stories, I have a whole lot of like stuff that I just don't write down, but it's sort of like backdrop details that just mostly matter to me to give the context for like what I'm writing. It's sort of the guiding arrows of the plot line, so to speak. And so one of these on the Amberhorn page is about her accent. So then when it became, Oakhart's accent, it's kind of standardized. Then how the canon changed around that is that her accent is still the Wastelandy accent. What would have been the Australian accent in the other one. So now Amberhorn, her accent is the Wastelandy accent that like her father would have had and whatnot. But with her mother's family, they're meant to have, as I state, Fargo-style accents, which is this sort of like high plains, Midwestern U.S. kind of accents. Because the idea is, they were quote-unquote Midwestern, influence. They got the Fargo pony in the actual show, so it makes sense. And they would be from, what did they call that? It was Winneapolis, right? It's just, use that as an excuse or whatever. Where, once they're put in the stable, they're just concentrated. They stay in there. So their accents, if there's ever a time when Abalone returns and she voices in the show, which I don't think that would ever happen, but like that, then all of these stable 80 survivors, the kids, they have those kind of accents. So it's just a little fun fact for you. Where how it would have been. Yeah, I don't know. The accents are fun because it's sort of just been part of my own like experimentation in voice acting, was then with every episode of these to have like a little bit of something different to try out. It gives a little bit of extra character for each of the characters themselves. But then of course in the case of the Ice Mare, as we've gone over numerous times, it's just because I fell in love with Curie in Fallout 4. So of course just make her my cutie. And yeah, I did a full demo of the Ice Mare. I really should release that at some point somewhere, because it's me doing the accent, and then also all the little like scenes where she's like talking, oh my beloved, and all that stuff. That's kind of fun. You kind of get a taste of that in the Terminal Secrets stage direction, because especially for that one, I feel it's good to have those full demos, because I like to think it helps guide the voice actors along. A, they get a good pronunciation of everything, so they know how to pronounce things. And then B, it sort of guides the idea of like the inflection and the like tone of everything. So like in the Hunger one, then when the Overmare stumbles in and it's him and Callie just after having this really heavy conversation, and she's just like, completely high / drunk on sleeping pills and liquor. And she says, oh, hello there. Oh, aren't you a tall drink of water? That kind of thing. And then for him, where then his dialogue is like through grinding teeth, like, Hello, Overmare. So, you know, it's just, it's so much easier if you could just do a quick demo rather than try to spell that out into words and have it get mistranslated somehow. Oh yeah, 89. Yeah, that's almost like a secondary 90s child. You can we can grant you like you can be part of the 90s child the 90s child council, but we don't grant you the rank of master. There you go. There's that joke. I've been following all the prequel memes on Facebook the last couple of months. Have been really great in the breakdown of the sequel Star Wars fandom. The prequel memes have gotten extra spicy, so that's been fun. In the plant vault, the pony eating bananas. Is there, wait, which plant vault? Do you mean the hunger, the 73? Yeah, that was another one I was trying to like so that they're limited to this one machine that essentially, they feed some raw like plant matter into it, but it's mostly kind of recycling, recycling everything and doing all that stuff. So they're stuck with it essentially, but what did I explain? I explained that it was something like it tasted like a vegetable porridge or whatever. Like some vegetables and stuff went into it because it was sort of the efficiency too. So, they thought they were always starving. So instead of just having the crop and having hand out carrots to ponies or whatever from the harvest, they couldn't waste any gram of plant matter, so they just threw the entire carrot, stem and bottom all the way in the machine. And same with like whole plants even, if it's a plant that it's easier just to throw the whole plant in rather than wait for the next harvest for the fruits or vegetables to grow, then that was just easier. So it started the idea to get across, just the idea of really make them feel the scarcity. It was a tricky concept to kind of set up, but I feel like, it did well enough. Mainly, I thought that would horrify people a lot more, like all the, the intense eugenics going on at the second half of the story. But I don't know. Maybe it's just par for the course as far as full-on Equestria stories go. Oh, and another thing the wiki gives me ability to expound upon is then things like where is it now? Stable 80, which is the one where Amber's mom and Aunt Abalone came from. And talking about as I kind of explained in that comment section on the video itself, but what was the experiment of Stable 80 and about how the virus thing worked and trying to breed a permanent immunity in the population and fun stuff like that. You should have just made them MREs. Yeah, I had to have something that was very highly complicated, because if it were some kind of prepackaged thing, it would be too easy for them to just eat, essentially empty the stock supply to feed everyone that was already alive, and then just do whatever they could to break the door open, essentially. That would be a whole different experiment then. If it were just a fixed supply of food and the door couldn't open for whatever reason, then the experiment would be... That actually would be interesting as its own story of they're running out the food supply and they can't pace themselves. Every time they try to institute some kind of rationing, then some hooligans break in and steal a whole batch of the prepackaged meals or whatever. And then if it were like a Terminal Secrets episode, then Butterfly Stitches would come in right at the end, right when they're about to run out of that last meal, and they all turn on each other and start, a civil war, maybe some cannibalism, and then at one point at the very end, there's going to be one faction left, and they're like, we can't do this anymore, if we die, we die, kind of thing. And then she opens the door and lets them leave after essentially the stable's already killed itself, back and forth. That would have been interesting. Hello, Sketchy Rivet. We're continuing on the stream from Saturday that you were very nice and generous with. So I hope you enjoy the 90s retro hour we had at the beginning, just talking a bunch of 90s nostalgia stuff. But yeah, no, it's fun. It really is just fun. It's just going through and sort of like, because this is stuff I've been doing in the background anyway. I have like a master like plot outline that, you know, I've been keeping track of everything for 5 years now. And so it's really been fun to sort of condense all of those like those lore bits into a publicly postable article that doesn't, you know, it doesn't spoil anything coming up, but there might be a few hints or foreshadowing in there. So it'll be fun. It give people a reason to read through them and dig into that lore. And then yeah, no, the oh yeah. Yeah, no. Okay, so see what I did to sort of remind myself what I want to eventually fill in. You can go to the main Terminal Secrets and Confessions of Wasteland Pony pages, and at the bottom you'll see a giant just list of characters and locations. And that's essentially a wish list of everything that I want to make a page for eventually. So it's like we have a few of them a few of them are referenced just to the existing character like DJ Pony and Homage. And then we've got a Rose Petal and a Green Shift and a Battered Blade and an Amber Horn. And we'll eventually get through the other main characters. And then we got a list of the side, or I'm calling them significant characters, because I'm making the distinction of voice characters versus non-voiced characters. And then just give a little blurb about like, oh yeah, remember this name? You know, here's your quick rundown. Here's your Bogdanoff rundown on what that person was again. Or horse was. And then same with locations, is just to remind people like, oh yeah, what was Fort Deadtree again? And then just quick rundown. What was Fort Deadtree? Or Naranja Villa. I put in the comment section too how to spell it, but a lot of people were very confused by that. And that was, I guess, kind of my fault. It's like I just never finished the demo for the Mercenary, and half the reason I didn't finish it is because I would get lip from VAs about like, oh yeah, you know, I maybe listened to like half an hour of like whatever big, you know, demo I prepared for them or whatever, and I'm like, well, fuck, why am I making these demos then if you're not even listening to them? You know, you figure it out yourself, and then I'll complain to you when you mispronounce something and you can send it back to me. God. A few parts I ended up doing a demo when it was like really plot relevant, like the Harvest Orange. I sent him a whole demo of just me doing his character, which that's kind of interesting. Maybe I'll post that somewhere. I thought it was fun anyway. But yeah, that worked out well. And yeah, you know, it's trying to have fun with it. It's amazing still looking at this this list of all these Fallout Equestria side stories, and oh, where'd it go? Oh wow, yeah, the giant list. Oh, that's neat, because technically the series doesn't have Fallout Equestria in the main title. We're near the top, so it's like you go on the page and it's Bonesaw, then Clouded Judgment, and then Confessions of Wasteland Pony. That's pretty sweet. And then like 90% of them are Fallout Equestria dash something, which makes sense, of course. And then there's Terminal Secrets right at the bottom. So that's kind of cool. It's like we're brackets on the edges of everything. Hopefully someone will get around to adding Wasteland Survival Guide 2. I'm being hesitant about touching any of the larger pages because I don't want to, you know, jack it up for everyone else either. But yeah, if people, because there is a Wasteland Survival Guide page now as well. But linking them was a bit tricky, like because they end in the parentheses for, you know, radio play or the you know, the name of what story it was in. Sometimes the link doesn't work quite right, so it'll put like a hanging parenthesis on the end there, and then you'll click it and it'll take you to a redirect page, and then it's like, oh, did you mean this? It's like, yes, I did mean this, but it's like YouTube thinks it shouldn't count the parenthesis. And I can't even put like a backslash at the end saying count the parenthesis. Oh my gosh, an Amoria's Loins song? I would like to hear that myself. That would be funny. Oh man. Oh yeah, alphabetical order being significant. It's like school all over again. Well, what's really funny is the people who put it's almost split, well, maybe not down the middle, but it's funny looking at the metrics of this. So you've got about a third of them have Fallout Equestria as like one term, like Fallout space Equestria, and then the colon, and then the things. Let's see if there's any particularly famous ones that do this. Lonely, Lost Cave, Aurora. See, I don't know most of these. Fallout Equestria and the Number Station. That's interesting. See, not a ton of these do it, so it makes me feel like that was the less accepted, standardization was Fallout Equestria colon Renegades or whatever. And then the more common one by like 2 to 1, and where all the like really significant famous stories are, Pink Eyes and Project Horizons and stuff, they have Fallout colon Equestria space dash name of the story. And it's one of those really stupid things, but I thought about this a lot with the original Confessions, because again, it's all about presentation. So one thing I've been saying since I started my channel was having consistent like style guide, essentially. It's really great just for professionalism and just for having okay, pause, and just for having like a proper structure to things that people are used to. So for Confessions, it's always been Confessions of Wasteland Pony as one term, and then it's the dash mark, and then episode blank, episode 7, colon, the mercenary. And it was intentionally made that way just to sort of like, make it as easy to read as possible. So, everyone's going to see the title of the show, Confessions of the Wasteland Pony. So that they'll probably breeze past. And then you get your dash. And then the unique qualifier is then episode 7, colon, the mercenary. Or episode 2, colon, the ghoul doctor. And having just that, like, having the colon there, having that as sort of like a focal point works a lot better. And obviously, with all these other fanfics, it's harder to do that when it's Fallout Equestria the thing. But, it's just another thing that makes us kind of unique. And, because really we're one of the only ones doing this. Like, other people have had, like, radio adaptations of their stories, or someone will, like, read an audiobook. But, a lot of these gigantic stories, 500,000 words is great and stuff, but it's all text. You gotta read it, which is fine. I know there's tons of voracious readers in the fandom because of the nature of all these stories, but I at least I feel like audio is a lot more accessible for people, especially that commute, or like for me, I've got like an engineering job, so I spend 8 hours a day, going through Revit and AutoCAD and emails and stuff. So I can listen to stuff easy. I can listen through 2 audiobooks a week if I really want to. But it's like having something that's in an audio format, I feel like makes it a lot easier to absorb the story. And so, yeah, it's unique, and we have a very high volume of story in audio format. So I think we're doing something special. And a lot of these are older stories, too. These are stories that came out and wrapped at the end of, like, 2014, 15, 16. So I like to think we're one of the, bigger torchbearers of the sub-fandom right now. We try to have fun with it, we're all doing our stuff. Kind of having both James and I to, like, bounce stuff off of each other works really well, too, as, keeping each other going. Not like competition per se, but just having the studio EAST Corp Productions as a thing to, like, mutual collaboration. And it's been a little bit tricky the last couple of months because now James is finishing up a lot of, like, like, I don't know, finals or whatever, and Needle's been busy with work stuff and other things, so we haven't had like a fan fiction reading in a while. So that kind of sucks. And honestly, I've had some shit at work too that's really like thrown me sideways. And another week-long business trip coming up in November. So it's always something, but you know, we're getting out the stuff. We got out Awake, which I'm still extremely proud of, and obviously from the returns, people seem to like it. So, damn. And then we got out Mercenary. Finally, after way longer of a delay than I would have wanted, we finally got out Mercenary, and I'm really happy with how it came out. I think it was fun. Okay, what was the chat saying? Bored and free time, I don't get that much. Yeah. It's kind of weird that the Fallout Equestria stories on the wiki don't have a page on that wiki. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. From that main, from this main page I reference a lot, the one with all the tables and word count and what's complete and what's canceled and stuff. It's incredible how many of them, like, you know, 150,000 words doesn't even have an article. I'm like, you know, some fan of theirs was nice enough to make an article like that, but I can only assume they're all like me a week ago, where they just like, they either never bothered or they thought I'll be honest, I thought the wiki was a lot harder to edit than it really was, because I've tried to edit normal Wikipedia in the past, and I don't know, it was just confusing as hell, and you had to go through all the layers of like moderator approval and stuff. This is kind of a little bit honor system, which was nice. So I was able to just, you know, create a page. This page doesn't exist yet. What do you want it named? And it just sort of like auto generates everything within its, you know, its master URL. And that's great. And, you know, I screwed up on one or two things, so someone came through and cleaned up some of the naming convention. But otherwise from there, and I'm doing that from now on, it's really nice that they just let you fill in the gap and, you know, be a truly crowdsourced information database. And, you know, we're better to draw information from than, you know, the original author of all of it. You know, that way you know the page is going to be as correct as possible as it can possibly be. Did the stream go dark again? I think ever since Stable Tech went down, only Pabst and Overrate Studios and you guys. Was that a slip of the tongue? No, I'm glad they got their. I'm glad they got stuff going on. It's yeah, you know, it's really just like, it's the commitment. It's just keep getting it out there until it's done, until you reach a proper bookend, a proper, you know, close bracket. Because otherwise, it's just kind of sad. It's like I mentioned at the beginning. Like, you see some of these stories, like canceled projects. It's 500,000 words, like. That would literally, I would die inside. I cannot imagine putting hundreds of thousands of words into something and then not finishing it to some degree. Like, I'd have to take a week off of work and just like sit down and be like, okay, we're going to write the last 5 chapters and wrap it up in some kind of sense. Otherwise it's like you just have that like hollow feeling inside, all that wasted time, all of that like empty words. Oof. I'll be honest, I sort of got that impression from Project Horizons for a long time until it finally wrapped. Like, I remember, especially in the middle of the Stable Tech days, like 2015 and stuff, it was like, yeah, Project Horizon's still going. And already at that time, people were using that quote like, oh yeah, you know, originally it was just like 30 chapters, but now it's just still going. And it kind of felt like it was just spinning into nothing. But hell, at least Somber, he wrapped it. He finally picked a bookend and wrapped the bookend and closed it. And so it's done. And it's like, you know, that's appreciable. And that's always good to see. Turn down resolution. Yeah, that's what I've had to do too. When I have bad signal, I just like, I'll set something to like 144p resolution. Because, you know, the audio comes through more or less the same. I think it's transferring at like 192 kilobits per second. That could even be generous. It's probably 144. But yeah, so the audio is not going to change, which is all this is, you know. I got my double bananas on screen. And that's about it. It's kind of funny the way her neck and horn are arched on screen right now. They kind of look like bananas. So it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Well, I'll bring up again if anyone has any questions or topics they want me to ramble on about. I just felt like I wanted to give some kind of conclusion since we got cut off midway last time, and we had story progression of SkyBolt discovered how to work the wiki. So, you know, it might as well talk about it in a little bit more detail for people that didn't get that from the video yet. Somewhere in the 720p is the best audio on YouTube based on compression and ratios. Yeah, that could be it. I don't know what they do behind the scenes. You know, I'm sure it's, you know, that they save data streaming as much as possible wherever they can in compression. But yeah, you always hear rumors like, what was it, like the 90s? They said some guy invented like near perfect compression that could like reduce something down by like 100%, and then the government stole it and the guy died mysteriously and no one knows how to do that anymore. You know, you hear stories like that a lot, but it's probably much ado about nothing. Because especially like, you know, in a lot of places when you do compress something, you lose data somewhere, because it's not like you have all this extra data for no reason. Like, the only way you can have a real like proper compression is if you have some kind of translator on both sides, and even then you can only break down the data so much, where even if the translator knows how to read like a data stream, you could still only limit information so much without losing information. So it's like JPEG, you know, when you turn something into a JPEG, you lose a lot of the details or whatever. And or MP3 is the same way, and that's why like still whenever I send raw files to people, I'll send them the WAV files, because I want to make sure they have the best version of my audio that they can have, even though my, you know, audio is probably only MP3 quality, you know, my little crappy recording software and setup. But, you know, we have fun. I feel like we get the most purposeful like result out of the audio, out of the software and things we have, you know. And that's really the key to a lot of creativity, is just use what you have to its maximum potential, you know, really get that stuff out there, and people will appreciate it. Have you ever watched Killjoys? I'm not sure what that is. Is that a TV show? I know of Killjoy, the oh no, I'm thinking of Kilroy. Kilroy, the meme from World War II of like the big nose guy. I don't know what Killjoys is. What was my plan for the Winter Pearl story time? Yeah, I mean, I guess we could talk about that. That'd be easier for you, and a little bit of fun backstory for everyone else out there. So way back in 2013, when it was still my first year doing parody, so it was still a lot of different stuff and experimentation. The whole at one point I decided I wanted to do a rewrite of the Tombstone September song, because that was super big in the fandom at the time, and I was like, you know, it's just like a lot of popular songs where the reason they're popular is because the lyrics are super reductive and hollow and empty. And that bothers me, you know, lyrics and writing, that's my thing. So I want to fill it in with something meatier, something of a more definitive, comprehensive story. And so I planned out a thing, because at the same time, the September song was done, and then the, what was his name? Echo something. The one guy then did a follow-up to that, because they were doing their own thing. They wanted to have, like, an expounded story off of the song, too. And so, they wrote, or he wrote wrote this really good song, October Sky, which I really loved. I liked the sound of the opening guitar, like plucking, and just the synth of the instrumental. It was a really neat song. And so I thought I would do a 2-part little story using the instrumentals from both of those. Or rather, for the September song, I used the Prince Whatever's instrumental, the rockier metal one. So that was fun. Anyway, and so unfortunately, it took me a 2-year gap to finally finish the October song, because every time the month of October arrived, I just got my schedule completely like trashed with real world crap issues. And so it took me 2-year gap between the two, but I finally got it done where there's all the details in the audio. But essentially, restart. Is it back? Is it back? Damn it, Susan. Why are you doing this to me? Okay, I think we're back. I'll keep going. Yeah, Evdog. Evdog was the one that did October Sky, which is really great. And yeah, so then I put both of those, once I finally got October Sky out, I put them both back to back on the Villainy album that luckily a lot of people enjoyed. That was a fun album to finally compile all of my sort of, villainy songs together. Anyway, so the whole story behind that was the idea of a cursed object called the Winter's Pearl, and the whole idea is this like a very, very scary looking like orb of like sapphire or something, like a dark blue looking crystal that's like perfectly smooth on the outside, like a pearl, but then on the inside you see all these really detailed cuts and refractions inside, and the whole concept behind it was that the crystal gives its holder or its wielder the potential of eternal life by essentially spreading a curse, where it sucks out the life force from any pony that you come in contact with, or there's like an area of effect or whatever, and it turns them into ice zombies, And I tried not to like rip off Game of Thrones per se, but that's sort of the idea, is that they're ice zombies, where it sucks the warmth, it sucks the heat and the life out of them, and it gives its user eternal life, essentially, just with every ounce of, like, sentience, every ounce of soul it sucks out of those around it, and then, and then it spreads it like a curse. Then each one of them will go out and seek out someone, and when they bite them, their soul is also drained and sent back into the pearl and into the life force of the user. And so what goes into more detail in October Sky, because it has a lot more like lyrical space for new story, was then just the expounded detail on, okay, so where it comes from was this guy who was like an archaeologist who stumbles on the pearl, and initially it's fine, but then over time, it's like, it's his most prized, cursed artifact that he's uncovered, and he starts hearing voices. He starts hearing a second personality in his head, and it's sort of like the pearl manifesting itself in his mind to use it, to get him to use it. And so when he finally does, then it's almost like it's a full-blown second personality. It's using his body when he doesn't even know it. And so it activates the pearl, and then you get the opening of the September song where he wakes up as him again, and he discovers all the ponies in Canterlot are getting turned into these mindless ice zombies that are ignoring him, because of course he's the wielder, but they're just eating or biting and turning all the others. And so then the second song is just that this has been going on for a while, and it's like already all of Canterlot's gone, and it's sort of slowly getting beyond the bounds of Canterlot, and his internal struggle against the voice, against this split personality that it sort of cleaved off of him in order to make him his own servant. It essentially, like, the guy already had like a psychological, like, sort of a gap there. He's had sort of a weakness to having his mind divided, and so it was able to get its hooks in and just break off a piece of its consciousness to use him like that. And so then the October Sky song is just sort of that internal wrestling for control of getting control over his own body, to the point that he's able to gather enough just explosives, just gonna blow the fuck out of the thing and see if that works. And the personality saying it isn't gonna work. You know, we have eternal life. Don't do this. And finally, he gets it to blow, and all it does is destroy the spirit. And also, assumedly, you know, obviously, it's 2 songs. I don't expound on this as much as I can, but it's like, it's sort of part of his mind goes with it, where essentially he's left a little bit brain damage from it. Like when the pearl gets destroyed, a little piece of his internal self gets destroyed with it. So it's like, you know, he definitely loses something from that, but then the souls and everything return to everyone, and they wake up, and it's all, you know, it's almost a My Little Pony ending. Everything's hunky-dory, and then it's just him having to pay for his crimes that, you know, try to seek forgiveness and restoration however he can. So there you go. That was one of my early concepts, early forays into fan fiction writing, with things included like that, and the Lament for Queen Chrysalis song story, or the cybernetically story that's sort of the SkyBolt story, and yeah, there's a lot of kind of more details behind all 3 of those, but none of them took like definitive shape. I don't know. I just never got around to like actually writing them, or I just didn't think, excuse me, hiccups now. I just didn't think I had enough of like a market I could have put them out into, because I figured if I just posted them on like Film Fiction or whatever, that it would just get lost in the noise. You know, this is way back when I had less than 1,000 subscribers. You know, I still thought I was a literally who in the fandom, and I had no real credentials or history behind me. I didn't have all my time at Stapletech. There's no Confessions. There's no Terminal Secrets. There was no Moonrise or Fall of an Empire. I guess Fall of an Empire is another sort of fanfic of mine that then, you know, I had just the right set of opportunities to get that turned into a symphonic metal opera, which is pretty sweet. But yeah, so I never got around to these other ones. Did I have a name for the archaeologist? No, I don't think I did. It's just he was just kind of like your average Earth Pony guy. I think I had decided he was an Earth Pony. I'm pretty sure, because that was the whole concept behind like arcane artifacts, is that, you know, they don't have necessarily magic of their own with like a horn. So with them, it's a lot of use of like, you know, forbidden spells and artifacts and things like that they can then use magic, which is sort of a concept I kind of play on a little bit in the Duchess Horror too, where it's like the whole idea of rune magic originally could have been to give magic to, you know, the Earth Ponies and Pegasi that didn't have unicorn horns to cast like their own internal spells. Runes would have given them essentially a language to speak magic, so to speak. You know, carve it into a wall and you know, maybe strike some kind of special crystal enough where that's the spark, and then that activates the magic of the runic spell. yeah, his name shall be Jeff, just like Jeff from Rooster Teeth. The G-off, which is, it's really funny, just one of those holdovers of, like, languages where it's like, you know, why does Jeff, you know, Jeffrey spelled with Geoffrey? It's like, oh, you know, Northern European language evolution. It's just how it goes. That's one of the hardest things with time travel, and it's one thing Michael Crichton really goes into a lot of interesting detail on in Timeline, the movie. Well, they turned it into a kind of terrible movie in like mid-2000s, but the book where essentially like this group of people, there's like obviously a scientist guy who has a machine that can send these people back to a very specific time in like early or medieval France, like 1300s, and so they have to get like all these historians and like linguist types that can even communicate with them, because you go back 500, 1,000 years, and you don't understand the language, really. Like, you even look back at, like, Shakespearean language, and, you know, in modern society, we can kind of navigate some of those words because we learn so much of Shakespeare and that era of the English language. But if you go all the way back to, like 1000, like the Norman invasions, like, you don't even really have an English language. You don't really have an England, per se, like pre-Magna Carta. And so it's just like, it's crazy, the evolution of languages and how things change over time. Like, I can only imagine what it's like for other languages like that too. At least I assume, you know, probably there's some languages like Farsi and ancient Mandarin that probably have a lot more durability through the ages. Like, you know, probably, well, pre-communist Chinese, you could probably take back maybe 2,000 or 3,000 years and still mostly understand what they're saying. But yeah, no, obviously, it's one of those neat things. Like, you don't think about the transience of being of things like language, and yeah, and that's why every once in a while you just have a revolution in history or archaeology because of things like the Rosetta Stone, and what made that such a household name, and why it's like this big key point in history, because that one stone was able to translate between what was it? It was like 4 languages. I want to say it was like ancient Greek, part Sumerian, Egyptian hieroglyphs, which was the language that they didn't understand, and then like I think cuneiform or something like that. And essentially, it's like it was enough of a key of, you know, a certain blocks of text. I think it was like a Hammurabi tablet, where, you know, it's like a set of laws written in different languages for people that it was overseeing, and that was the key to understanding a lot of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. Oh yeah, getting a nap from during due. Yeah, absolutely. You can work during due in. Yeah, I mean, see, I was never the biggest like Indiana Jones fan like my brother was. I always took more to like futuristic or sci-fi kind of things just growing up. I got so sick of all the past stuff. Everything was ancient in the past and shit. And I just got I got kind of like a weird, like, turned off of that, at least in middle school and high school. But yeah, the During Due episodes have gotten really interesting over time, so those are fun. Hey, Folgers, welcome, Folgers Midnight Special. Hopefully it's midnight wherever you are, if you're in, like, Iceland or something. Yeah, no, we're just shooting the shit. It's I wanted to start the stream earlier so it'd be a little bit more convenient for listeners on the East Coast before going to bed for their work or whatever. And yeah, you know, just kind of hanging out. I wanted to continue off of that stream that we got basically shit canned on Friday or Saturday. I still don't know what happened there. That was just weird. So yeah. I can't wait to get this damn week over with, too. I'm already sick of it. I hate it whenever I start off a week sick. It feels like then I'm just, like, dragging through the rest of it to get to the weekend where I can feel like I can reset again. Because, you know, you end a weekend on being sick, it's like, it's just like, even if you did get a certain amount of rest or break or whatever, you just, like, immediately are back to zero as soon as the week starts. Yeah, no, and see, that's another thing, too, is then, you know, I try not to offend Needle or James or whatever, but it's like, if it's just me, that's, you know, then there's only the one schedule I have to worry about. Like, for instance, I try to plan, like, earlier, like, weekend schedules or stuff, or, like, a morning thing, but they can never do that either. So, actually, one thing I'm very tempted of doing, maybe, we'll see what happens, like early on Friday, like Friday morning for me, where it's just getting into the evening for our you know, our European and etc. listeners, where, you know, start off at like 8 a.m. for me, nice evening for you guys, and then everyone else in between, it should be a decent hour for them. And so we might be able to reach like a peak of listenership at something like that. So I'm considering experimenting with that just because I'm carving out these solo streams now because they're semi-successful. Because it's just easier, you know. I'll be honest. I'm really getting sick of trying to organize podcasts and just like days and days of just tell me a fucking block of time that you guys are free, and then we'll see what points in time those all line up. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like pulling teeth from 4 separate people with, you know, with 2 arms and only 1 set of pliers, and it's just like, come on. Bulk of the story is recording between the main character and Celestia after the events of October Sky. Oh yeah, no, that's good. Make it like a tribunal, or like sentencing, like her like judging him, like, okay, so what did you do? You kind of almost killed us all for a while, and that was bad. I'm very much looking forward to Oktoberfest. Actually, we're finally finding some German American events around us, and gonna go to some of those because we haven't really, because no one in my family drinks, or at least our main family. So you know, we know without the beer aspect, Oktoberfest is different, but ever since my grandmother died, we've been missing like the old country food, you know, the old German and Norwegian food. So we've been seeking out some more groups like that to kind of have that again. And it was good. We just had I'm gonna mispronounce it probably, an Erntedank Fest, where the Harvest Fest, and it was just so good. It was the pork chops and potato and like dill salad with cucumbers and stuff, and it was just like, it literally was just like Grandma used to make, and that was really special. We really been missing her the last couple years, so, and that'll be kind of neat. Some more German American events. Because my dad was born in Stuttgart. He didn't really grow up there. They moved when he was like 4, but yeah, he was born there, and then they came to the U.S. where my uncle had been since or great uncle. His uncle had been since just before World War I. So yeah, it was you know, fun times in mass migrations. What about October for any 40K fans? I don't know 40K, so I can't comment on that. My extent of 40K knowledge is what's the name of that YouTube channel? The not Tibetan. The what's it called? Okay, I gotta Google this now. It's come on, Templin Institute. That's it. Oh man, these guys are great. If you love like various like, well, if you like lore videos and stuff, like kind of, well, not kind of what Oxhorn does for Fallout, but this is more like it's this channel called Templin Institute, and they essentially do just like 8 to 10 minute lore videos on various like factions of just any series you can think of. So like they got, just in the last month or two, they got one for Kingdom of Gondor. Gives you quick rundown. What is the Kingdom of Gondor? It's really like a video wiki page. They got one for Planet Express from Futurama. Why not? Got one for Holy Terra of Warhammer 40K. Soviet Union from Command and Conquer Red Alert. Empire of the Isles from Dishonored. InGen for Jurassic Park. I gotta save this. That one sounds fun. But yeah, no, it's a really neat channel that just gives you a cool rundown on various organizations, and yeah, and so it's channels like this, it's things like that that really got me wanting to fill out the Fallout Equestria wiki again. Because again, I've got like this 100-page document of all the background lore and detailing from all the stories I write, even Terminal Secrets and the Confessions and our other interconnected stuff. And it's like, it's nice to be able to port them over to like a public thing where everyone else can get the most out of them too, And it'll help me stay like lore consistent as well if I know there's other people that can see it. So it's a little bit of a tightrope where it's like I don't want to post things that are like still in flux, which I'm not. Everything I'm posting is something that's like settled, where even with this last episode with the mercenary, like I'm not going to post any mercenary lore things until the very end, until everything else is done. So, you know, at least we've had like then a month or two since the release to give people time to listen to it before a giant foray of detailed articles are out. Because again, I feel like, you know, a lot of these stories, they are all in word format. So for instance, in Project Horizons, if you're like, okay, you know, who the fuck was Boo again? You can do a Control F and go to Boo and probably search until you start seeing her pop up in the story and go from section to section and read her parts real quick. But it's a lot trickier, I do understand. It's a lot trickier when it's an audio format because, you know, we're not going to post we can't post the scripts until the end because the scripts have some lore in there that isn't publishable yet, or it's like hints for the future or details that people can't know yet. So that's not coming till the end. So the Wikia is going to be great for just indexing information so people can easily go back and reference like, okay, yeah, they're talking about Mare Island again. What the fuck was Mare Island again? I'm not going to listen through, you know, the engineer because I don't, you know, which is understandable. But it's like, it's more fun, of course, to listen. Like, what is it in the engineer? I think it's section 5 when they hit the island where they're like, they're walking on the shore of the River Styx, which is just black sludge. And then they see the island and you get those first details about like, yeah, one of the bridges is out. So there's only the one bridge and it's got the giant 70-foot walls and the giant angled door. And then they crack that bitch open and it's all green and you got grass and apple trees and shit. And so that's kind of neat. And that's, you know, with all the shits and stuff, that's what I can then translate into these pages for the Quicks rundown. Cause I do understand. I'm trying to understand better because it's easy for me because I wrote it. So of course I know the order of events. I know all this stuff, you know, because I've gone over it, you know, a dozen times probably before the episode itself even released. So I'm hoping once I get all these pages done and once I interconnect them and they're all properly linked up and everything, then people can really, you know, when they're having one of those nights on like a Friday or Sunday or whatever, where you're just bored, you're just clicking around, it should give you the ability to just click through and read the essence of everyone's story again and get like where they were, what are their motivations right now, what are they doing, and oh shit, Green Shift, I haven't put any of his stuff from the Ice Mare in here yet either. You know what? When I get to adding Ice Mare stuff, I'll be reminded of that, and that's when I'll go back and start adding that. Because I've done Battered Blade too, but I haven't put any of her Red Reaper stuff in yet. And we got to put the Red Reaper now that we have art for him, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, Templin. I haven't played the Command and Conquer games. I really don't know. I've described this in the past. I'm really not a gamer. I don't call myself a gamer because I really don't play that many games. I play Fallout in, you know, ridiculous, you know, religious tier volume, especially because of this stuff. And then I play, I used to play the Halo games. I still kind of visiting an old friend or grandma every once in a while, but the Halo games have kind of fallen off. Even with all its problems, you know, Fallout 4 and stuff, it's still fun. I know we're going to get a lot of fun out of 76, especially now that we can play together and we're going to have streaming on the channel and stuff because now it's all on my computer. I can load it up on my computer, do screen share. I got this nice microphone for commentary. It's going to be fun. We'll meet us some monsters. Waluigi? Ouija? And then, oh yeah, no, I'm excited for Cyberpunk. I'm curious about Black Ops too, because I remember in like the peak of the Modern Warfare, fame in the Call of Duty universe, Modern Warfare 1 and 2, and kind of 3, but it felt like things kind of dissolved then right after 3. But I remember amongst all those, I had the first 2 Modern Warfares, but they didn't really do it for me. I don't know if it was just like the approach that Infinity Ward took versus Treyarch, but I really fell in love with the first Black Ops game. Sorry. I really fell in love with the first Black Ops game. And I actually still kind of wish I could go back and play, well, I mean, I can, but like, I'm curious to see how Black Ops 2 and 3, went, because I know they went kind of into the future, and it would be neat to kind of see how those stories played out a bit, because at least for Black Ops 1, I really loved just the way they set up the story to sort of kind of tell the story of the Cold War through the eyes of all these CIA, Spetsnaz, Black Ops kind of missions back and forth. That was really cool, and a lot of the reason I love the Rolling Stones music is because of that game too, because they had so many quality Rolling Stones sections, like in the original Black Ops when they first drop you into one of those brown water like gunboats in Vietnam, and you just hear Sympathy for the Devil, the bongos start coming in, and you're like, here we go, gotta look for Charlie, and yeah, it was just what would be the right word? I guess the narrative framing was really, really neat in that game. Yeah, that's right. You better look out, Courier 7. Red Reaper's out for you. The Red Reaper is Phil Collins. Oh man, Phil Collins. I've had a short list of Phil Collins songs I've been wanting to maybe parody. I haven't quite decided whether I want to do Landed Confusion, the original Genesis version, or good old stereotypical what's it called? In the Air Tonight, or Another Day in Paradise is really good too. Those are sort of favorites of his outside of like Disney movies, outside of like was it the Brother Bear song? Tell everybody I'm on my way, that shit. And then the whole Tarzan soundtrack. 2 worlds, 1 family. Touch your heart, let fate decide. Behind these eyes we see, and all that. So that'd be kind of neat. Settling into the performance would be fun too, because I haven't I've sang in variations in my car, but like every once in a while, like the South Park parody version of Phil Collins slips through, because they made him such like this ornery sound in an episode where he's talking about his Grammys or whatever. It's just so stupid, but it's if it has anything to do with actual Fallout, because items being sent and used as something or other, looking out for the town. Yeah, who knows? It's interesting. It's essentially, it was just a way to give Battered Blade something else to do. I wanted to give her like kind of an extension, because she got such relatively short screen time in the original. I'm like, we need more Battered Blade. And I'm Shadow. She was such a trooper with just being able to come back, after all these years. Like I can never thank her enough. And I tell her a lot, like, let me know if there's anything I can help you with, and anything I can do, you'll be first priority because of how reliable she's been all these years. And it'd be interesting to see how that all plays out. Now it's stuck in your hood. How did Paradise go? It was oh, think twice. It's just another day for you. You and me in paradise. Bum, 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 bum. Just think about it. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah. So those are sort of the favorites. Oh, Phil Collins. So those are always fun songs. And then there's always the, there's a lot of, I've always had a list of, all the songs I'd like to parody in one way or another. It's always about just finding the right story for it and then the time to do it. That's always like, you just got to wait for the magic. So it's like 420. I'm like, man, I've been, it was 420. I don't know. I was going through old playlists and I'm like, oh yeah, the, So Happy Together. This would be so perfect to do for 420 this weekend because it was like a Friday. So I'm like, it's perfect. I can come home and do it and post it right away. And then with the Fallout is like as soon as I saw the trailer and it was the Take Me Home Country Road. I was like, oh shoot, I gotta do that. So it really is just waiting for the spark. And that's where the best songs usually come from, is just having that like right amount of like spark come together to make it. So let's give it time. It'll probably, something will come of it. I sound like Ralph from Odyssey Eurobeat lore-ish. I'm set, you bitch. Reset. Is it reset? I think it's reset. Come on. Come in. Come in. Is it back? I think it's back. Okay. Yeah, 2 hour mark. Woo! Every kind of half hour. It delays a little bit, so it's almost like not half an hour, but like every 31 minutes or some odd number. Maybe it's some kind of like, maybe it has something to do with not binary, but like bit rate encryption. Like what is it, like the next the next Y2K is like something to do with bit encryption numbering. Let me Google this real quick. I'm talking on my ass. The next Y2K. I remember people talking about this at one point. Oh, Unicode, that's it. The year 2038 problem relates to a representation of time in many digital systems in number of seconds passed since the 1st of January 1970, which is the storing date of the 32-bit binary integer system. Okay, so on January 19th of 2038 at 3:14 in the morning, like the Y2K problem, the clock will cease to work or something. And the date could reset back to 1970. So, of course, this is based on 32-bit integers. So, we already have 64-bit systems out there. So, by 2038, probably everyone's going to be on, like, a 128, system. Or we'll be in the Matrix. Or the great happening will happen. And all the electronics in the world will be EMP'd anyway. Oh my God, $2 from Sketchy Rivet. It's fixed. Thank you, Sketchy Rivet. It's not my fault. I already, my one theory was that it was the NordVPN fucking with me, but nope, it's not. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, it's possible solutions to Y2K. I always liked the Simpsons version of Y2K also. That was a really great Treehouse of Horror episode. Or SAO could become reality. Yes. yeah, we can all plug into Sword Art Online. Have people complain that it's not a good enough plot line. Oh, man. It's funny, like, revealing to people that they were in some kind of matrix, like, that could be interesting. Like, what did they do? Did they sit down at, like, the UN and be like, yeah, we kind of had to plug you in. There was reasons. And so, like, how many people would come to terms with it and be like, so can you just, like, keep us alive? Or, give them all, like, their own Neo worlds of, like, be able to screw around and, it feels like a lot of the processor power to maintain the illusion or the artifice, you could then get rid of a lot of that stuff and let everyone be a superhero in their own little, like, wall off 10-kilometer cube on the face of the digitized planet and let them do whatever they want. Like, okay, right now my block is I don't know, it's Godzilla themed, so everyone instantly becomes a kaiju as soon as they enter the space, and you have to go through special doors or whatever. It's like passport. You are passing into Jeffrey Anderson's cube. Current settings are Godzilla settings, so pick your kaiju in order to enter. That'd be kind of neat. And everyone has like friends lists and their own realities. They could just do whatever they want in their portion of the Matrix. And maybe like a group of people end up choosing nihilism, and they're like, okay, just give me brain death. You can keep using my body as a battery for another 50 years, but I choose death. It's morbid, but like if you really if the Wachowskis wanted to like pursue that to every logical conclusion, like just telling people like, okay, we got you all hooked up and this is all false reality, and really the world outside is sort of uninhabitable. There's like this city of like assholes that keep bugging us, but like the surface is all dark and uninhabitable and stuff. Yeah, pick your superpower. I don't know. That would be it'd be kind of a neat theory. Like, you could really explore the different personalities of what people would do with that. That's sort of loosely how what do they call it in Snow Crash, the Neil Stephenson novel from the 90s, which is like it's a very interesting novel. It's such a sort of unique kind of sci-fi and Capistan fiction. And yeah, so the artificial reality in that kind of works that way, where everyone has their like, their like codes or their hackers, and then there's people that wear what do they call them, like not gauntlets, they call them golems, where they're all tricked out in all these like Nintendo Power Glove looking units, so they're both in the virtual world and the real world at the same time. It's a really surreal novel, the Snow Crash. Very interesting. It has a premise of like ancient Sumerian like texts, like using that to sort of like unlock like the old bicameral humanity, and sort of essentially it's like a mental virus, like a language virus that sort of resets people back into being just automatons. And I reference it in that other article I mentioned over the weekend, the Origins of Consciousness book. If you listen to them back to back, they make a lot more sense. Another way of saving processing power is limiting memory space to that of just the subject's 5 senses. Oh yeah, that could be interesting. Like you can turn off pain, because it's all fake anyway. Just turn off pain and death for their node. Turn off like sensitivity to temperature, maybe, or higher smells, or I don't know, dizziness, stuff like that. Oh yeah. So yeah. So following up on our everyone's doing drugs conversation is Lucondrax of we're all infinite beings, man, in the spiritual plane and place. Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the more interesting SCPs. Is I think what's it called? I think it's like what happens after, or something like that, where like one of their level like 5 SCP like leader guys dies. And so they want to, they have to bring him back to get like passwords or something, like he was too valuable to let die. And so they resurrect him, and he's just insane, and he's like screaming nonstop, and he's talking about the afterlife, about like once conscious beings die, you're like, your body dies, but your mind is still sort of there in like this dark space. And slowly your consciousness gets pulled and spread out over the universe, and you can feel it. It feels like a tension or like a pressure that builds as you slowly phase into the ether. It's almost like was that Hinduism or Buddhism? Pantheism, where like you rejoin the spiritual energy force, but sort of his the explanation in that SCP is like it's a slow process and you're semi-conscious. Like your consciousness slowly drops off, so you spend like 10,000 years in slow form suffering as you get pulled in your essence into the ether, and that was really horrifying. That was something like no, that was a really messed up kind of story. I was thinking about that like a whole weekend. Yeah, the SCPs are really interesting. Every once in a while, there's like some really good ones. The SCP reader channels are a great filter for that, because then you can just be like, it's sufficiently good or sufficiently popular if, the various patrons have lobbied them to read that one. So like if you go onto like the East Side Stories or Volgan's channel, that's like you're getting a really good, like a good pick of SCPs right off the bat. Like the Red Sea Object is really good. That's a good long one. So, talking about like whenever I'm working or doing stuff here or driving to work or whatever, listen to those really long ones. So the Red Sea Object is like an hour long, and it goes into all these various scenarios of what's in this like this other world that the disc like lets people enter, and yeah, it's just neat stuff like that. Someone else logged on, Gnome. Hey, SkyBolt, how's it going? It's going good. We're just talking about all sorts of stuff. It's just our Tuesday secret stream. And I mentioned to everyone else based on trying to find sweet spots of timing. So obviously over the weekend worked. We had like kind of an average of 15 viewers because it was the weekend, obviously. So I know this is a little unorthodox, but I just thought I'd try it because I didn't have anything else I wanted to do really. So, but I'm thinking of trying maybe Friday morning kind of stream, or even a Saturday morning if I can make that work, where then like the people in Europe, you guys can listen in, or old world, whatever, you can listen in the evening. It would be like 6 or 7 for you, and then America can wake up with it in like Saturday morning cartoons or whatever. So I don't know, still experimenting for different times and stuff. I remember it was essentially the same sort of drama at Stabletech in finding just a good regular time to have our normal Stabletech meetings, which was always hell to organize. And that sort of settled in on Saturday morning as well, for the same reason, is that then the people in Europe could come in Saturday evening, and people in America, North America, can come in Saturday morning. So it was interesting. Yeah, of course, it's just rambling. So it's essentially another long advertisement for the Wikia, which we will keep updating and keep adding more and more stuff to down the road. Because, like I said, amongst all the lore giant document I have, within that is stuff like a timeline, like that really lays out like where everything falls. I use the moniker AGW and BGW, after Great War and before Great War. So it's pretty well laid out, I think. So obviously nothing too explicit or too constraining will go up there, but I think it'll be a lot of fun lore in these articles. Anyway, yeah, I think I'm kind of out of things to talk about, because there's I filled in, a pretty good chunk. It is all just me on Saturday and then today. So we're probably running to the end for this cast. But has there been any more Horizons talk? Well, didn't he started another story, didn't he? Somber? Like he wrapped Horizons, and then already he's into another 100,000 something word story. Which kind of, I'll be honest, after the Everfree convention, some of the mysticism of that made more sense when like he was going on and on, because he like completely took over the Fallout Equestria like group panel, which kind of sucked. I wanted to talk more about our stuff, but they let him up on the panel, and so it was him talking about his groupies, or I'm sorry, editors. It's him talking about like his editors and stuff, and it's like, the more he talked, the less it sounded like, Somber writing a story and like I like giant, FOE, FOE IRC website, like, committee writing a story. And that kind of took away some of the monolithic nature of it for me. Like, I still hold a lot more respect for, like, KCAT. I don't know if KCAT had, like, a whole series of editors or whatever either, but it's like, at least... Well, obviously, Terminal Secrets is a little different. I said my thing to James, and then he modifies it for his purposes of grand narrative design. But it's like, Confessions, it's just me. I just write a story I like, and I post it. And, I don't know. Seems a little bit more genuine that way. It feels like they were going a little bit too far into this idea of like, oh yeah, like this amateur like editor publishing house kind of thing, and it kind of made my skin crawl, because even thinking about wanting to do like normal writing or publishing and like sci-fi and stuff in the future, like the idea of having all these like parsing layers of like approval, it kind of bothers me. I like the idea of self-publishing, because it's like, okay, if no one buys a book or a whatever, then okay, they don't buy it, that sucks, whatever. But it's like, as soon as you make a partnership with like a publisher, like, Random House or Simon and Schuster or one of these gatekeeping operations, then you're at their behest. Your work belongs to them. And that's another thing I don't like the idea of, is then losing that control of, that's the value of the internet, man, is you put out what you want to put out, and it's yours, but it's also like, it's out there. It's pure as it can be. It's sort of like you read some of these stories about like George Lucas in the 70s complaining about the studio system, or any other kind of movie or TV people, where it's like, you only have as much creativity as the FCC legally allows to give you. Whereas the internet, well, except for like, we have certain limitations for mediums like YouTube or other places, but they're a lot less stringent than like conventional media. It's like, if we wanted to write our Stable 69 smut story, we could post that on FimFiction. I don't think they care, right? They have like Clopfics and stuff up there, I'm pretty sure. Not that I would write a Clopfic per se. I'm just saying, you got to pay me good money if you want your big O. That's going to be an extra stipend for 18 plus. Anyway, what were you talking about? Oh yeah, it was me complaining about Somber's editors. I don't know. It wasn't boring, and I'm sure it makes sense when you have a story that big or whatever, but I just like, on a personal level, as an individual creator, just, that was my whole approach to the fandom, is I just wanted to create something. I had no creative outlets left at that point in my life, and Pony gave me something that, like, I could do at my own pace, my own schedule, and just release it whenever the hell I wanted to. And I was really, that was the best thing about it. It gave me that space to work with. And if no one watched it, no one watched it. But little by little, I got fans and people that followed my stuff, and I was happy about it. I'm glad that, it brought a little something to their lives as it brought to my life, just to be a form of expression. Would 10 caps be enough? I don't know. Give it 5 more years. Once the dollar crashes, then 10 caps will be probably, I'll buy you something. Just don't ruin Horizons for me. No. We're not talking about Horizons anymore. We're not doing that spoiler talk anymore. Because it seems almost impossible to spoil anyway. It's too big, going into the details of every concept, you can't spoil it. So that's kind of good. And in some ways, Confessions, I'm trying to make it like spoiler proof too, but there's some turnkey things that obviously I'm keeping very close to the chest. Don't even tell Vermont about or anything. It's mainly within like a per episode context of like, who's gonna die, that kind of spoilers. That does kind of matter. And I'll let people know now. It's like the Wikia is gonna be like, once an episode is posted, the wiki is just going to be the full plot explanation, just like a normal wiki page of, if you Google the wiki page of Jurassic Park, it's going to tell you the whole story of Jurassic Park. Yeah, they go to Dinosaur Island. these guys die, this shit happens, you know, they blow it up or whatever. And so it is, I am going to treat it like that. It's going to tell the full uncensored story, except for what's to come. And that's the fun part, is then you aren't going to get spoiled per se, but it's going to give you that full breadth of knowledge and an easy to read locations before episode 8 and then episode 9. So there you go. Yeah, so that's fun. All the yeah, fun times in Stable 69. Oh gosh. Yeah, we had a chat in one of our private channels about like, oh yeah, if EAST Corp were a vault, what vault would it be? And I had to hold my tongue because I almost made a joke like, oh yeah, it'd be Vault 68. Because, you know, it's Needle always complaining like she thinks she's the only girl in the group. So I almost made that for her sake, but I didn't. Because it's not true. We have other major lady contributors, you know, like Hypnodunk is in tons of productions as well, and we have Oakhart, who's been pretty faithful to us. And, you know, others we hope to expand on. We'll see what happens. What do I think of Black Ops 4? I haven't played Black Ops 2 or 3 yet, so that's what I think of Black Ops 4. I don't know the story. Is it still in, like, the far future? Like, I don't even know. I don't know what anything, like, of Black Ops 3 was about either. I remember when the first Black Ops 2 marketing came out, and it was sort of like, you know, near future, so it had like the drones and things like that. But then when they were advertising for Black Ops 3, I was completely checked out. I have no idea what that's about. Oh yeah, good night, Lucondrix. Yeah, banana phone. Banana phone. Black Ops 4 has no. Wait, Black Ops 4 has no story? Like, for real? That's really lame. If that's true, that's extremely lame, and I throw shade at it. That was one of the main things I liked about Black Ops 1 was the uniqueness of the story as far as, like, you know, war shooters go. Same with Battlefield 1. You know, it was neat that they tackled World War 1. You know, these kind of pieces of history or, like, concepts of warfare that weren't really spelled out much before. Yeah, Black Ops, isn't that Minecraft? Yes, it is. What do you think about Battle Royale concept in games? I think for games where it's like baked in from the beginning, like your Fortnites and your PUBGs, your Player Unknown Battlegrounds, it's a neat concept, you know, for like arena style play. I just, that's really never been my gaming type. Like even the Halo series I got into for, well, I guess I kind of liked LAN playing with friends in a period of time when LAN playing, you know, existed and mattered. But really what kept me in Halo was the richness of the story, and I started getting the Halo lore books and stuff, and the music. That kept me grounded. But, like, gaming just for, like, sort of arena-style combat, it really doesn't do anything for me. That's one of the many reasons why I probably... Honestly, if it weren't for, like, the channel and, like, you know, a pretty dedicated group of people that we could play with and, like, the, you know, the live streaming potential and stuff, I almost might not have pre-ordered 76. It took me a long time, and that's why I don't have the T51 helmet either. But even then, it's like that window was so small, I just missed it. So that sucks. Do you like bananas? Yes, I do. Yeah. Especially Celestia's banana. Yeah, no, it's the classic fandom jokes. All the old classics. And see, that's another reason I miss having the fan fiction readings. We gotta have, you know, gotta go through some more classics for fun. That would be great. Just the classics. Oh man. I'm hoping the stream sounded better for everyone too. Like I said, I have my microphone on top of a very thick set of noise filter eggshells, and so hopefully my miscellaneous bumpings of the table aren't coming through like they were earlier. on my my other solo streams, because I was listening back to some of those too. Again, I have all these empty hours of the day just to fill with noise, because I can't give my brain time to think. That's scary. Can't let the thoughts come in. So I was listening through the New Year's stream I did, over New Year's, and I was just like, every once in a while one of those strikes would come through on my car speakers or my headphone speakers, and I'd be like, God damn it. So I'm really hoping these eggshells are helping. And I'm going to review this stream this week and see if the eggshells helped. Otherwise, I'll have to add another layer probably. Damn. It's just like whenever I forget my pop filter on something, that always bugs me too, because then the P's and the B's come out really harsh, and it just drives me crazy, I'm not like a sound engineer level of like skill or complexity, but when it's stuff like that I can tell, it does bother me when it adds up. Yeah, I'll be honest, this wasn't set up to be a Euro stream. I sort of thought the last stream was better because then you guys woke up with it. But then this one, I tried to plan early so that then, people on both coasts could enjoy it for its breadth. Yeah, we're up to 14 viewers now. Everyone's home and had their dinner, so the East Coast people, it's later for you, and then it's 7 for us, so... I mean, that's kind of how it is for me, too. I stay up until between 10 and midnight every night to the losses of my sleep schedule. Honestly, ever since college, my sleep schedule has always been all over the place and garbage. I feel like it seems like for a lot of like more creative types throughout history, they never have like a very well defined regular sleep schedule anyway. So, I'm not really complaining too much. I've always been kind of a night owl, all the way going back into like high school when my parents would let me stay up late or let me have a TV or computer in my room. Like in high school, I spent all my time watching, Nick at Night and Adult Swim, really getting into those, edgy mid-2000s programming. Well, not really. Nick at Night wasn't edgy. Nick at Night was great because it was all those older like 80s and 90s sitcoms just repackaged and re-released, which was really great for me when I missed a lot of them. So it's like, I watched all of The Nanny and Home Improvement and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and a bunch of old shows like that at Nick at Night, which is really great. Yeah, rip SkyBolt's sleep schedule. Yeah, it really died in college. College was when it was just completely fucked in like my senior year, where I had some classes that were like literally kind of late classes where I'd come home and go right to bed at like 6 p.m. and I'd sleep until like 10 or 11, and then I'd get up and I'd be up between like 10 and like 2 or 3 in the morning, and then I'd go to sleep again for 4 more hours. I went back to like a medieval like binary sleep schedule for months. It is almost my whole final semester of college. Like when I was I mean, maybe the pony music could have been involved too. That would have been around the time when I was releasing like what was it called? Damn it. The Name of Strife, the September song, things like that. That sort of fall of 2013 is when things were completely wrecked. Yeah, I know. I only have a sleep schedule because of work. Yeah, really, the last year or so, my sleep schedule for work has been like, Sunday night, I go to bed after midnight, and I sleep 4 hours for Monday, and so Monday's always terrible. And then usually Monday or Tuesday, I'll have like a crash where I'll sleep like 9 hours. And then usually Wednesday, I'll like even out and have like 6 hours of sleep. And then sometimes I'll force myself to get a good night like Thursday, and then Friday I'm like really fresh, so then all Friday night I can get a lot of like stuff done, whether it's podcasting or writing or something. And then the weekends, it's usually a good amount of sleep, it's just at a really fucked time, where it's like you go to bed at 2, sleep until 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. So yeah, that's just It's all over the place. And, you know, that it evolves almost every time I have some kind of change in life where I move or change schedule at work, you know, get a different job, move from Virginia to the Bay Area and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's all over the place. It's really fucked. Do I watch new BoJack? No, I've never been, I never followed BoJack Horseman. That's Vermont. If we ever get him on for a podcast again, you can ask him about BoJack. Yeah, I don't know. I just never I never got into it. I'm usually pretty behind on TV shows too. I usually don't get into a show until it's basically done sometimes. That's why things like Pony were really so aberrant for me. It's just like I usually never catch something right when it's starting. I usually discover something when it's already like kind of wrapping up. Yeah, binge it when I'm bored. Yeah, I should do that. I'm really behind on some other stuff I've been meaning to binge anyway. Like, I still have to finish Cowboy Bebop. I got all the Blu-rays for my birthday last year, and still haven't finished it. Still haven't, like, finally finished Big O. You know, I watched all those on Adult Swim also, and I finally got the Blu-ray of the whole series, but I never finished it yet. I gotta see those last couple episodes and, like, get the payoff in their proper form. There's a reset. God damn it. Anyway, I finally got around to seeing that the anime movie Your Name. That was really good. I actually had another friend of mine who I don't think of as an anime kind of guy. He's definitely more of a normie. Not like I don't know. He's kind of nerdy. He's more of a band guy. And he's not someone I would have thought would watch anime. Anyway, he told me about Your Name, and I was like, okay, yeah, you know, I remember the ads for it, like, last year or so, and, it looks cute. It looks like the kind of, like, after-school special kind of thing I would like, that kind of really sappy romance. But then the Act 2, like, twist happened in Your Name, and I was completely floored. That really, like, that elevated it to a whole new level of, like, good for me. So, now I gotta get the Your Name Blu-ray at some point. Probably for my birthday this year, actually. I should ask for that. Yeah, so that was really good. I really liked Your Name. That was good. The other thing I did last year was I finally got, like, again, I'm stocking up on physical media because you can't trust these online places. Like, oh, Pony's off of Netflix again, or oh, it's back up, or this or that. I like having physical media. I like having Blu-rays. So I finally, you know, I got Attack on Titan Season 2, which was great. Go through all that. I got Akira and Ghost in the Shell, which were great. The movie, anyway. I have yet to get the Blu-ray for the Ghost in the Shell series. I still want to get that. I went back through Attack on Titan. No. Full Metal Alchemist. I went back through Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood again too. Especially the 5th season. Once we get our Snow Queen, our General Mira Olivier Armstrong. Oof, then I pay attention. Then I'm saluting General Armstrong. That's a great character. That's one of the many things that the original FMA series was sorely lacking. And I still have an appreciation for the original Full Metal Alchemist series, but obviously, you know, because of the timing, it's just like they had to come up with their own resolution to the series. And I actually kind of like it. I liked the movie, the Conqueror of Shambhala, and the whole concept that the Philosopher's Stone in their world was getting powered by all the horrific deaths of World War I and the Spanish flu. I thought that was a really neat concept. Damn it, Sky 2 times now. No, it's not me. It's YouTube. I've already tested and proved that it's not me. At least not my VPN. No, we're getting wazzed by YouTube. Yeah, but we're not going to go to 4 hours again, because then they completely killed the stream, so I don't know what happened there. Yes, yeah, Woo Armstrong. Ooh, she is She's so great. Especially those last couple episodes when they're down in the catacombs and she's a little bit messed up, and you get all that good banter between her and teacher. Oof. Oh, so quality. So quality. Fully at attention. Yeah, so anyway, last couple minutes. Anyone have any other questions or things they want me to talk about? I might break the stream before it breaks us, because that's the whole point, is this was picking up a stream and ending it on my own terms, and then I'm gonna get dinner. So anything else you guys wanted to talk about? Fuck, I want some Taco Bell. I might go drive and get some Taco Bell. That sounds kind of good right now. Put on some other podcasts that I've been wanting to listen to. Yeah, no, exactly. I kind of like both Full Metal Alchemist series. Please say something sexy as Godfrey. Let's see here. So if you want some kind of song with the rhymes with clitoris, like licorice or transistis, oh God, I gotta drop into it. If I Gilbert Gottfried, it's not really Godfrey either. It's just my best approximation. I don't know. Feed me a line, and I'll do my best to do it. Chipotle is good. Is Chipotle open right now? Chipotle also sounds kind of good right now. Something Mexican. I'm in a Mexican mood. Check Hangouts it's easier than email. I will do my best to check that stuff. Yeah, no, anyway, regardless, we gotta do another fan fiction reading. I have so much damn fun with those. Even if Needle can't do one, maybe I'll do one in the next weekend or two. Especially because there's a whole bunch of voices I've never gotten to use yet. Like, I never got to do a comic book guy voice, of sneering at someone's comic, or what else? What other voices did I want to do with that? There's a whole lot of ideas I had that we just didn't get around to, and those are so fun. It's such a great chemistry of me doing something and then she does something, and just the dynamic and just the variety of the silliness. It just worked so well, especially like we really got into a stride with the last two episodes, and I want to keep that going if we can. Can we expect another stream Friday or Saturday? I'm hoping, we'll see what happens. Maybe I can convince them to do a Saturday morning stream, because they're both going to get jealous now that I've done like 6 hours of monologuing. So hopefully I can convince Needle that we could do a fan fiction stream Saturday morning. But it just depends on her schedule. We'll see what happens. Ever thought of doing a confessions for a Talon merc? No, probably what, Diamondback's the closest you're going to get for that kind of thing. I already was coming up with enough stuff to be different than, different than Battered Blade. And I wouldn't want to do it where it's tied to, an original Fallout thing. Because really, even since the Stable-Tech days, I was so afraid of that, stepping on lore and then getting something wrong, where it's like, oh, you said the Talon Company did this, but they actually did this. And I'm like, fuck, man, I don't know. I listened to it the one time. It's a 600,000 word story, So that's why, I just come up with my own thing. It's the Razor Wings and the Smoke Devils. It's a lot easier that way. So that's kind of thing. But those are fun, yeah. And got another few episodes. Got a lot of exciting stuff coming up. Who knows what's gonna happen? It's very exciting. So yeah, should be fun. And shit, the Terminal Secrets finale this year too. That'll be crazy. Whenever James and James get that edited together. So you could probably expect that before Christmas. Probably sooner, actually. Probably more like November. So we'll see when that happens. Oh, just a griffin in general. You know, if I do another non-pony character, it's probably going to be a hippogriff, because I fell so in love with Silverstream this year that it's probably going to be a hippogriff. And most likely, it'll probably be in the second person. Like, it'll be someone with their hippogriff friend character, because I already know who the main characters of the next few episodes are, and they're not, unfortunately, they're not griffins or hippogriffs, so... Well, we'll have some of them worked in somewhere, probably. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I'm hungry. I'm gonna go get some kind of Mexican food, and yeah, I will talk to you guys later. If you really want either just another normal podcast, or hopefully you want another a fan fiction, silly voices stream with me and Needle, leave a bunch of comments saying, demanding that because she always reads comments. She's very good about that. So leave comments demanding that Needle set up a fan fiction stream with me. Yes, tacos and burritos. Oof, that sounds good right now. Okay, I'm gonna take it off before we get wazed again. So. Had fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream, and this satiates you. And yeah, we will talk to you guys more later.